is my latest video, Nairobi, my thoughts. All right, Nairobi, cool little spot. Nairobi is a city in the country of Kenya. Kenya is in East Africa. So the thing I know about Nairobi is, and the people of Nairobi is, they are a people that have a long heritage. They speak the language Swahili. It's the primary language, and then secondary English, their language. In addition to that, I noticed that the people cuisine, unlike, let's say, in West Africa, where you have like the staple of jollof rice and fufu, they eat a lot of foreign food, most notably from India. They're like from India, which is kind of disturbing. India, it was a group of people that were brought to Kenya when the country was colonized by the British as sort of like indentured servants, and now they run a lot of business there. When I talked to a lot of locals, they would tell me the Indians are very prejudiced and loony, and they would tell me about how the Indian people would, run around starting crap with the people. And I found it bizarre because when I travel around the world, Indian people, they get ostracized all throughout Asia. So then it's kind of disturbing to see that then they go to Africa and do the same thing they bitch about in Far East Asia. The thing that about that is that I wanted to start a video off about that because, one of the things I think for a lot of Africans and people in the African diaspora, they got to do, they got to start like kicking these crazy people out of their country. They're idiots. They practice a caste system of almost 2,500 years of self-hate. Most of the people are brown-skinned, but then they pretend they're better than other brown-skinned and dark-skinned people of the planet. And then they whine about being treated poorly in other parts of the planet, wasting people's time, money, and resources. In their country, India, human sex trafficking is a major issue. These men don't, do anything about it. They just kind of just let their women just get taken for a loop. Then on top of that, they pretend to believe in various deities. They tell them not to behave the way they behave, but then they go ahead and behave the way they behave. I think that for a lot of Africans, they need to say enough's enough and kick these people out, if by force. And it probably should be by force. These people, they're toxic, they're negative, and they don't belong in a power position in these countries like Kenya and so forth. I mean, at least with the white people, they actually have come from a higher GDP, and they could be more resourceful and useful. But to have these people that come from a country that's basically second world running amok over them, I don't think that makes any sense. So again, I wanted to point that out because it's ridiculous and it's buffoonery at the highest level, and delusion on the part of the people of India. As they later find out when they go to West Europe, parts of America and so forth, and find out that they're not on top of anybody. They're just a bunch of people that's puppets in the system of white supremacy. And I think that for all those that's African listen to this, you can know that you don't have to play second fiddle to nobody, especially in your own country. And you can actually look, there's a lot of issues with African Americans, but you can look at what they did in the 60s when they said enough's enough. I'm tired of this shit. I'm not gonna, keep supporting you and you treat me like crap. They boycotted the people. Sometimes they would rage on the people. And now you have so many millionaires and even billionaires to this day. So I know that Africans can do the same. The nightlife, man. The nightlife there, it was pretty dope. It wasn't the best, but it was pretty cool. It was a couple of nice spots, most notably in Westlands. Westlands is a upper class area in the city of Nairobi. It is a place where you have a lot of foreigners that go to, and they come there to just relax and then do tours like safaris and so forth, which is not far on the outskirts of the city. In addition to that, you have a number of different places you can go hang out at. The malls. It's a mall called Sarat Mall. Sarat Mall is arguably probably the biggest mall there in Nairobi. And they have a lot of the modern day amenities that you would see anywhere else around the world, and to include the United States and Western Europe, like the UK and France. Your major sports clothing lines and so forth. In addition to that, you also have other different foreign cuisines, not just Indian food, but you have like Italian food, American food, of course. Also, let's see, you also have some other local African cuisines there. There was a sizable population of Tanzanians there. Tanzania is a country not far from Nairobi, Kenya rather. Matter of fact, it's right next to Kenya. Also, you have a few Ethiopians, and subsequently, if I'm not mistaken, a few Ethiopian restaurants there as well. So you can try a lot of the local food that's from the Horn of Africa. Let's see. The women cool. For me, it definitely wasn't a problem there. In regards to that, a lot more, in many ways, you could say traditional in comparison to, let's say, African American women, and that that all harkens back to culture and how the upbringing, more of a traditional vibe. And one thing I noticed that, unlike in my culture, a lot of times African Americans, they are culturally based off of the region of the United States they're from, like the South. Like black people, like a lot of my family members are from the South. They have a different culture than, let's say, up in the mid-Atlantic or North, which is more like a hustle and bustle kind of vibe. The South more of a slower vibe, and they have their own slang and language and so forth. Well, in Kenya, they have different tribes. People are from different tribes within the area, so they have their own ways of saying things, doing things, even down to the way they dress, which is akin and similar, rather, to in the United States, where black people or various people of any group, they dress maybe one way in New York, right? But in Miami is a different style, or Los Angeles is a different style, or even like in Chicago, Chi-Town, and so forth is a different style. And that's because of the different regions, Midwest or North, Midwest, South, West Coast, all has its own different thing based off of the culture that has been birthed in that region of the USA. Is the same with Kenya and the people there and the various tribes that people come from. And then also the way the language that they have is slightly different from one another. I would say that in addition to the fact that a lot of the people, like the women, be more traditional. Like, what is that word, traditional? Well, it just means that the people practice gender roles. So a woman acts like a woman. You don't have like women trying to be a man, or act like they have a sex organ that is not feminine origin in between their legs. They actually act like females. You don't have like a lot of back talk. Like, you'll notice most of the women, they have a soft tone to their voice. It's more feminine. It's not hard. It's not raspy. And nowhere that I go in Kenya did the women have a hard tone of voice. Unlike, let's say, in my country, where you have this whole thing about being independent, which from a biological standpoint makes no sense. Men and women, all the way down to the shape of their bodies, is designed to come together. And that was by the Most High, right? So I noticed that the people are more in tune with that. Some people might say because of necessity, because of the economics, whereas in my country, a woman can make the same amount of money as a man in some cases. So they maybe get the big head off of that. But I think that over there's much more of a gender role practice. The women like being women; they don't want to be men, and the men like being men, and they don't want to be women. So you don't have a lot of men like doing the whole twitching their body around and putting on dresses and all that kind of stuff. So is more of a traditional way of being, right? The religion there is Christianity, so that's the primary religion. However, you do also have other religious sects there that include Islam. Excuse me. Let's see what else. Hindu, because the small Indian population there that runs a lot of business. Very small, like 5%, but they run a lot of the business. Those are really the primary religious faiths. Christianity being the number one, and that was brought, if I'm not mistaken, by the British, and then presumably was kind of crossed over from the countries of Ethiopia, which was practicing Christianity long before Great Britain was, thousands of years ago. Other points to note. So there's a lot of poverty here, right? One of the things about Africa is that we all know Africa's been robbed naked, and this is taught in my history classes by a lot of white professors. They told me it was called the Move on Africa in the late 1800s. There was a convention by all the major Western European powers, Germany, so forth, UK, the Holland, or the Dutch, to figure out in French who's going to take what part of Africa down for its natural resources. And to this day, that still goes on, but just in a different way. But subsequently, because of that, there's a lot of poverty in Africa, specifically in Nairobi, Kenya. And actually, Nairobi, Kenya, unfortunately houses the largest slum in all of Africa, the Kibera Slum. So when you're there, you're going to see a lot of people. They're begging for, a lot of kids running amok, a lot of young men, I guess with no home to go to, as explained to me by some locals. And then some people said the kids that just don't want to obey their parents and stay at home. But, you have a lot of people that are, not doing that well, right? So, it's kind of sombering to see the brothers and sisters not doing that well. But I wanted to point that out because when you come there, I think that a lot of people, the African diaspora, that maybe are doing a little bit more well off, like particularly a lot of African Americans and a lot of Africans whose parents struggled to get them to the UK and France, crossing the Sahara Desert and so forth, should definitely come back, help out the people and support. There's a program called the Kibera Pride Initiative. It's a initiative started for the orphans of the Kibera slums, and it was to help them out. A lot of these children had unspeakable things done to them. I went and volunteered there. I'll put the information in the description box, but I would plead that those that are watching this video support this local cause there in the Kibera slums. A woman named Irene, she created the slums to help out the children there, and it's a worthy cause, and I think you should support it, and it will help those that are less fortunate. Finally, I want to end this video by saying that Nairobi has a lot of fantastic attributes about it. It's very popular within the African diaspora for a lot of particularly African Americans to go to, in addition to Tanzania, and for understandably so. The first black president, father, Barack Obama of the United States, is from there. Also, it has a rich and proud history. I know even when I went to the Kibera slums, the children spoke Swahili, and they were proud to be who they were, which was a bit of a contrast from my country. And that's due to the ill effects of the transatlantic slave trade and how it subsequently was designed to break down mentally the black people that were taking from West Africa. But I know it's one thing with both the East African countries I've been to, Tanzania and now Kenya, that the people are proudful people and proud of who they are, despite it all. I would definitely recommend going to Kenya to learn much more about the history of East Africa. I still got more to learn, and I plan to make another trip back, particularly to help out at the orphanage and the children's school. And I think that many people, particularly of the African diaspora, when you go back one thing, sometimes people, they're running from something, or they want to just vacation, and that's cool. But I think for those that have more than others, or maybe have more opportunities, they should go and give back. Because, it's one thing to complain about like racism and stuff like that, but if you're not doing anything to counteract it, what are you complaining for? All right, till next time, take it easy.